What if I told you that one single country holds snow-capped mountains, steaming jungles, rolling plains, and two completely different oceans? That's Colombia, a land of extremes, contradictions, and breathtaking variety. Most people know it for coffee, emeralds, maybe even Shakira, but few realize that Colombia's geography is one of the most fascinating puzzles on Earth. And here's the kicker: that geography hasn't just shaped its landscapes. It has shaped its history, its conflicts, and its identity. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching this from. Colombia connects the Amazon, the Andes, and the oceans, and I'd love to see how far this story is reaching. Colombia sits in the northwestern corner of South America. To the north, it looks out over the turquoise waters of the Caribbean Sea. To the west, waves crash against its Pacific coast. To the east, vast jungles stretch into Venezuela and Brazil. To the south, the land bleeds into Peru and Ecuador. It's the only country in South America with coasts on both the Caribbean and the Pacific. That single fact alone makes it a connector, a bridge between the world's greatest ocean and one of its most legendary seas, and that position has always made Colombia a hub for trade, for cultures, for migration, from indigenous trade routes to Spanish galleons, from modern shipping lanes to cultural exchanges. Geography has placed Colombia in the middle of everything. But being in the middle isn't always easy, because while Colombia's location offered opportunity, it also brought challenges that would define its future. The most striking feature of Colombia is the Andes. But unlike many countries where the Andes run as a single chain, in Colombia they split into three massive ranges: the Cordillera Oriental, the Cordillera Central, and the Cordillera Occidental. This triple fork of mountains slices the country into separate regions, each with its own identity. Imagine trying to build roads, unite people, or even send messages across towering ridges, snow-capped volcanoes, and deep valleys. Geography made unity difficult. At their highest, the Andes here reach nearly 19,000 feet. Peaks, like Pico Cristobal Colon and Nevado del Huila, dominate the horizon. Their summits stay capped in snow year-round, while their slopes drop down into fertile valleys below. Think about that for a second. You can wake up in a humid jungle at dawn, and by evening you could be shivering on a mountain pass covered in snow. Colombia is one of the few places on Earth where tropical and alpine worlds sit side by side. So let me ask you, would you rather live on a breezy Caribbean coast or high up in the crisp air of the Andes? Drop your choice in the comments. But the Andes don't stand alone in Colombia's geography. East of them lies another world entirely. Step beyond the mountains and you find yourself in a green ocean. This is Colombia's Amazon region, known locally as the selvas. Vast, humid, and alive, these forests stretch endlessly, fed by rivers that flow into the mighty Amazon itself. The Caqueta River, winding like a silver ribbon, and countless other tributaries drain this jungle. The biodiversity here is staggering. Colombia is the second most biodiverse country on Earth, second only to Brazil, its neighbor. Every square kilometer holds species found nowhere else. But the story doesn't end with rainforests. Head north from the selvas and you reach the llanos, immense plains that seem to stretch forever. These are the grazing lands of cattle ranchers, the backdrop of folk songs and cowboy traditions, and the home of rivers like the Meta, which flows toward the Orinoco. It's wild to think, in just one country you can pass from glacial peaks to Amazon jungles to endless plains. But Colombia's rivers don't just feed forests or plains, they've been the lifelines that built civilizations. The Magdalena River is Colombia's backbone. Flowing north for nearly 1,000 miles, it has been the main artery for travel, commerce, and culture for centuries. Along its valley, civilizations flourished, trade moved, and entire communities took shape. Alongside it runs the Cauca River, carving its way between the Cordillera Central and Occidental. These rivers aren't just physical features. They're characters in Colombia's story. Without them, many mountain communities would have been completely isolated. With them, Colombia connected its highlands with its lowlands, its farms with its ports, and its people with the wider world. And hidden within those valleys and plateaus lies something even more intriguing: Colombia's capital, perched in a place you might not expect. Most capitals in South America sit near coasts, easy for trade and access. Bogotá defies that pattern. Colombia's capital rises more than 8,000 feet above sea level, on a high plateau called the Altiplano Cundiboyacense. Why here? Because geography offered protection. Surrounded by mountains, Bogotá was defensible. It was also fertile, watered by rivers and shielded from the heat of the lowlands. Today, Bogota is a city of contrasts. Modern skyscrapers rising against a backdrop of mountains, with colonial plazas and bustling markets at its core. At that altitude, the air is cool, thin, and unlike the tropical stereotype most outsiders imagine when they think of Colombia. If you've ever visited a city at high altitude, maybe Mexico City, Quito, or La Paz, you know how different it feels. Drop a comment if you've ever had that breathless sensation of altitude. But as stunning as Bogota is, it's only part of Colombia's coastal and cultural split. To really understand this country, we need to look at both its seas. Colombia's geography takes another dramatic turn when you head west and north. It's two coasts. And here's where things get fascinating, because these coasts are nothing alike. First, the Caribbean coast. This is where Colombia meets the turquoise waters of the Caribbean Sea. Here you find cities like Cartagena, a walled colonial jewel, and Barranquilla, famous for its carnival. Santa Marta, another coastal gem, sits in the shadow of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, a mountain range that rises straight from the sea to nearly 19,000 feet, the world's tallest coastal mountains. The Caribbean side has long been Colombia's window to the world. Spanish galleons once docked here carrying gold and goods. Today it's a hotspot for tourism, trade, and culture. Music like vallenato and cumbia, with their infectious rhythms, were born along these shores. Now cross the mountains and head to the Pacific coast. The difference is shocking. The Pacific region is one of the rainiest places on Earth. Thick rainforest presses against black sand beaches. Towns here are fewer, smaller, and harder to reach. The population is largely Afro-Colombian, preserving traditions that blend African, indigenous, and Colombian heritage. Unlike the Caribbean, the Pacific coast hasn't been developed into a tourist playground. Instead, it's rich in nature. Humpback whales migrate along its shores. Dense jungles hide incredible biodiversity. It feels raw, untouched, and powerful. Here's a question for you. Would you rather spend a week in Cartagena's sunny colonial streets, or in the wild, rainy paradise of the Pacific coast? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious which side calls to you more. But Colombia's coasts didn't just shape culture. They also shaped conflict. Because geography, while beautiful, can be brutally complicated. Geography is not always a blessing. For Colombia, it has often been a curse as well. The Andes, by splitting into 3 ranges, created isolation. Communities in one valley developed differently from those in another. Travel was slow, communication was hard, and uniting the nation under one government was a challenge. The rainforests of the Amazon region, while breathtaking, are nearly impossible to control fully. For centuries, these jungles have offered refuge to groups who wanted to remain outside government reach, from indigenous tribes to armed groups. The coasts, meanwhile, with their many hidden coves and long stretches of shoreline, have been gateways not only for trade, but also for smuggling. Geography made Colombia both connected and vulnerable. It's no surprise, then, that Colombia's struggles with regionalism, conflict, and illicit economies were rooted, at least in part, in its land. But here's the twist. Those same challenges pushed Colombia to discover its strengths, turning geography into power. When people think of Colombia, one word jumps out: coffee. And they're right. Colombia's coffee is world famous, grown in the coffee triangle of Caldas, Quindio, and Risaralda. The secret? Volcanic soils, high altitudes, and the perfect balance of rain and sun. Geography made Colombian coffee smooth, rich, and globally adored. But coffee is just the start. Colombia is the world's leading producer of emeralds, mined from the mountains of Boyacá and Cundinamarca. These green gems, some of the purest in the world, owe their existence to unique geological conditions. The country also produces oil, coal, and gold. Its fertile valleys yield bananas, sugarcane, and cocoa. And let's not forget flowers. Colombia is the second largest flower exporter on Earth, filling homes across Europe and the US every Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. It's almost poetic. The same geography that brought obstacles also delivered abundance. Coffee or tea? If you had to choose just one for the rest of your life, which would it be? Drop your answer and let's see if Colombia's coffee lovers win this one. But Colombia's resources are only part of its story. To understand its modern identity, we need to see how geography is shaping its future. Today, Colombia is rewriting its story. For years, its geography was linked to conflict, isolation, or stereotypes, but now it's becoming the foundation for pride and progress. Take biodiversity. Colombia is second only to Brazil in the number of species it holds: birds, orchids, amphibians, butterflies. Ecotourism is booming. Tourists trek into the Amazon, climb snow-capped volcanoes, or dive in Caribbean reefs, all in one country. Then there's culture. The Caribbean coast beats with music and dance. The Andes nurture literature and politics. The Pacific preserves traditions few outsiders have ever seen. Colombia's regions, once divided, are now celebrated for their diversity. And here's a fact that always amazes people. Colombia exports so many flowers that every February, nearly every rose given on Valentine's Day in the US comes from its fertile soils. Love, quite literally, grows from Colombian geography. Geography, once a source of division, is now Colombia's strongest brand. So what does that mean for you? Colombia is not just a country, it's a living lesson in how geography shapes destiny. Its mountains created isolation, but also beauty. Its jungles were hard to control, but they hold the richest biodiversity. Its coast brought both trade and trouble, but also gave it two faces, Caribbean and Pacific. Colombia is a land of contrasts, snow and jungle, plains and peaks, challenge and opportunity. And in those contrasts lies its magic. So here's my question to you. Which part of Colombia fascinated you the most? Was it the snow-capped Andes, the endless Amazon, the split between its two seas, or the cities perched high above the clouds? Drop your answer in the comments. I'd love to see which side of Colombia captured your imagination. And if you enjoyed this journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because there's so much more of the world left to explore together.